What up, YouTube? Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of Curated Topics brought to you by Curated Sense LLC. What's up with y'all, man? We live streaming tonight. Y'all see the title. We talking about some sports tonight. It's always sad when it's the end of the NBA season, but we have a new champion. And actually, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different with the sports talk tonight. I'm actually going to be doing a lot of teaching. Let's put it that way. I'm gonna be learning y'all something. Shout out to the old school. But no, I'm actually going to be pulling quite a few lessons that I kind of got while watching the finals. I'm also going to react to some, content that I sent myself. So we're going to go through all that stuff. But you all saw the main topic. We're going to be talking about the Knicks and how they pulled off that historic run. Not only the historic run, they actually did something historic within the finals. We're going to talk about that in a second. But y'all know what we got to do. We got to do candle of the evening. And y'all seen this candle before. This is my little tester candle that I did in my little crystal cup. So I'm going to light it up on this evening so that it can, get the space smelling good. Smelling good as it does, you know what I'm saying? I got it lit, so I'm not gonna just put it all up under my nose, pause. But yeah, so the scent that we have in here, I think I remember telling you all I tried my first hand at like a mixture. So the bottom layer was one scent, the top layer was another. What I ended up doing was I had some leftover wax from when I made candles, and I layered them. So I wanted to see how it would turn out. Been smelling very good. The two scents that I had in here, Baccarat Rouge 540 and J'adore by Dior. The Baccarat Rouge is by, I think it's by Francis Kirk Jean. I don't remember. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember. But they both smell really good. They both smell really, really good. Have your space smelling good. Everything's going to be feeling good in a minute. The vibe will be set. And we're going to dive right on in. So, I am going to start it off actually with a little photo. So, this right here. It says, whenever it decides it wants to pop up. Yeah, there we go. It says, nothing great should be easy. Let me read that again. Nothing great should be easy. And if I was to look at an NBA Finals, although the outcome doesn't depict it, this is what I would say was probably the motivation behind the Knicks win. Nothing great should be easy. None of their 4 wins out of the 5 games were what I would consider to be easy, right? So the Knicks won. They beat the San Antonio Spurs 4-1. That is a gentleman's sweep. Now, most of the time when we see things like sweeps and gentleman's sweeps, we would say, oh, well, the other team they weren't ready. They didn't have it. This was an easy win for the Knicks. But if you actually look closer and if you look at the scores of each game, if you actually watch the games, if you saw how they went, you would see that New York was down in every game, including the game they lost. They were down in every game. Matter of fact, they were down by double digits in every single game. And so when I was talking about, they did something historic, you don't generally see teams be down double digits in every game and then come back to win those games. Now, you might see it once or, maybe twice. You see it with like some heroics. But you don't see it for every single game. I mean, this was every game. I'm going to show you. So here, the Spurs in game one led by 14. Knicks won that game. Spurs led game two by 12. Knicks won that game. Spurs led game three by 12. Now, the Spurs ended up taking that game. But then in game four, Spurs lead by 29, the largest lead in NBA history to be blown in a finals game. And they ended up losing that game. And I watched that game. That game was amazing. In the first half, I'm like, oh, this game's over with. Spurs got it. They about to go back home. It's going to be 2-2. You know, we got us a series now. And that second half was a master class of not only basketball, not only the players on the court, but I have to give it to Mike Brown. We saw a master class coming from Mike Brown in terms of coaching. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. But back to what I'm talking about here. Spurs lead game 5 by 16. 16. Still end up losing? So as I said before, struggle streaming. I find a way to struggle stream. Sorry, y'all. But the Spurs were leading the game by 16 points. And the Knicks still found a way to come back from that. Now, I talked about how, the Knicks came back against Cleveland when Cleveland was up by 24. To come back in the finals and you're down 29 points, that's almost 30. For those of you who, need to know how to count, that's almost 30. But for them to come back, it just shows the level of belief that they have in each other, the level of belief that they have in themselves, and the amount of no-quit energy that they had. They weren't going to quit that game. They weren't going to quit. Normally, you see a team go down, 25, 30 points. They're like, all right, bring in the bench. Let's pack it on up. We got another game, and let's, start to reevaluate. They said, no, we going balls to the wall. We going to shoot ourselves out of this slump, and we're going to figure it out. And they did. They truly, truly did. And that's something that they have to be commended for. They have to be commended for, because it's like, this is the largest comeback that we've ever seen. Ever. And I mean, I know the game is a little bit different. People shoot more threes and things like that. But I mean, still, coming back from being down 29 in a finals game. This isn't just some regular NBA playoff game. A finals game. That puts you up there in the echelon of greatest games of all time. Greatest games of all time. Jalen Brunson never quit. OG Anunoby, he was the hero of the game, and he never quit. I think he had something like 33 points. Jalen Brunson had 30-plus points. I don't remember, but it was just an immaculate game, a great game in terms of, showing heart. And this is what I want you all to remember. Sometimes you're going to be down. You're going to be down big. And it's going to seem like maybe it's time to just pack it on in and try again another day. And to be quite honest with you, if the Knicks had taken that route, nobody would really be mad at them because they were down 29. It's like, okay, at what point do you throw in the towel, right? For them, it was never. For them, it was never. So you know what? That's the lesson that we have to pick up here. Sometimes you're going to be down big. Sometimes it's going to seem like your comeback is impossible. Sometimes it's going to seem like You're going to have to literally give it your all. And guess what? You are. You are. You are going to have to give it your all. You're going to have to give it your all plus some. You're going to have to dig deep. You're going to have to get into those reserves that you didn't even know that you had. And then you're going to have to, you know, make something happen. Now, I want to talk about the players kind of individually. I want to talk about the players individually. And I'm going to start with Jalen Brunson. I'm going to start with Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson was talked about by every sports analyst on earth when he first got to the Knicks. And I don't think a single one of them had anything positive to really say about him signing with the Knicks, right? I'm talking about when he first got there. First got there. None of them had anything kind to say. It was all speculation. It was all, well, what is he going to do? You know, you're giving this guy up who was Luka's backup in Dallas, and you're going to pay him to come there. What's he going to do? He's only 6'1", 6'2". He doesn't even dunk. He's not taller than a lot of guards. Excuse me. How is he going to be the quote-unquote savior to the Knicks? And what I liked from Jalen Brunson, even when they asked him these questions, he had no response. His response is I'm going to go out there and I'm going to play to the best of my ability. He did not respond to the naysayers individually. And I think sometimes we can get caught up and we can get knocked off our purpose when we do that. You know, when we focus so much on what this person said about you, what that person said about you, what this person said, this person's talking down, this person. Now you're not even talking about what it is that you can do, what your purpose is, or any of that. You're focused in on who said what. And Jalen Brunson took all the noise and he put it to the side and he said, you know what? They gonna see. They gonna see. And even from the moment he got on the Knicks, him being paired with Julius Randle, there was a lot of speculation behind that. And what I saw from him was just resolve. That's what I saw. I saw resolve. And, you know, that kind of resolve, that kind of determination, and that kind of confidence, that's what you're going to need if you're going to reach that quote-unquote championship for yourself. That's the amount of confidence that you're going to have. That's the amount of resolve that you're going to have. You're going to have to be able to say, you know, forget what these people are talking about. Forget what these people are talking about. Now, I'm going to come back to Jalen Brunson, but I want to go on to OG Anunoby. He was the hero for one of these games, and in more ways than one. Let's take a look. So here we got something by ESPN. OG Anunoby had a block on De'Aaron Fox, which saved the Knicks from being down 3 points. And then on the other end, had a tip in, which put the Knicks ahead. The game-winning tip. Pause. And it is what got the Knicks to win in this game 4. So let's take a look here. I don't know if they're going to show it, the replay in this particular video. Let me skip ahead. So here we see the tip in. Jalen Brunson missed a shot, and OG Anunoby comes in for the heroic tip. First of all, let's talk about the degree of difficulty. So, in this game, right? In this game, OG Ananobi was the one inbounding the ball. So he got the ball to Jalen Brunson. He knew, okay, Jalen's going to have to get a quick shot. He's going to have to create for himself and then get a shot off. So as soon as he sees, okay, Jalen Brunson, he caught it. He didn't fumble the ball, but he he kind of fiddled with the ball a little bit, but then he got open and he took the shot. And as soon as he went to go and take the shot, you see OG Ananobi do what every single basketball coach worth a damn should tell all of his players. Crash the boards. And you see OG Ananobi run in and crash the boards. And what happened? San Antonio, they played good defense, but they made a crucial mistake. What mistake did they make? They didn't box out. They didn't box out. And so now you've got somebody crashing the board, running in, OG Ananobi, and he gets a fingertip on the ball? He gets a fingertip on the ball? Let's take a look again. He gets maybe his finger on the ball. We'll see it when it comes back around. I wish they had sliders so I could go back and forth and rewind and all that. But here it is. He goes up for a tip. And then not only that, when he tips the ball, the level of touch, this isn't just an easy tip in. He's not right by the hoop. He's coming in on two guys. He gets he gets his middle finger on the ball. Let's give him two fingers. And he's still able to tap it in. And not only that, he taps it in a direction towards the hoop perfectly. Perfect amount of touch. That the level of degree of difficulty on this shot is crazy. And he makes it. And here's what makes it so heroic, right? So not only did he pass the ball in and then rush to get the rebound, he gets the rebound, he gets the tip in. Look at this. He got his hand on it. He got his whole hand on it. But tips it in, coming from the other direction. And the play before that, he spent a lot of energy in order to get this block. This is the block that he got on De'Aaron Fox. Also, De'Aaron Fox, oh my God. De'Aaron Fox, I see an investigation coming. Because anybody who knows anything about basketball, if you're up and you have the ball, you just keep dribbling. You get the ball and you dribble around, make you shoot free throws. But you see, OG Ananobi, he expended a bunch of energy just to catch up to him and then get the block. And then the very next play, you come down and pass the ball in, and then you get in the amazing tip. That is, I give him 3 hero awards. 2 plays, but you get 3 hero awards from me. You get an extra one. And at that time, with those heroics, they were actually talking about OG Ananobi getting the MVP of the finals award. Now, game 4, everybody was thinking it up, and Jalen Brunson came in and dropped 45. So he solidified getting that MVP trophy for himself. But everybody, OG, you are the reason we're in this position. OG is the hero of that finals. Jalen Brunson is the MVP. OG is the hero. Because without his efforts there, they would have lost that game. And it would have been 2-2. And we'd still be watching basketball probably. But that is the beauty of basketball. It's all about effort. You're not always going to have the most points, but it is truly a team game. One guy can't will you to the win. Now, I want to go down to Jalen Brunson and talk about him for a second. Jalen Brunson's confidence was it's been on 1,000 this whole playoffs. It's been on 1,000 this whole playoffs, and it has pause. It has oozed out onto the other players. Super pause, super duper pause. But it's contagious. You see the team pick up off of his confidence. He's like, nah, I got this. I got this, and you all just make sure that you all are where you need to be when it's, too much for me. But otherwise, I got this. Early on in the playoffs, they had probably, I mean, if you look at the outcomes, not analytically, Kenny, but if you look at the outcomes, the first round was the toughest round for them. The very first round against Atlanta. Atlanta pushed them harder than any other team did. Pause. But, them going to 6 games with Atlanta. In that final game, they beat Atlanta by like 40 or 50 points. And it was embarrassing. But there was something that I saw there. I'm like, oh, they are not to be played with this year. And people were playing with the Knicks name. How can you be down 2-1 to Atlanta? They barely got into the playoffs. I mean, they did good, but they just, I think they were the 6th seed. They just the 6th seed. How can you? And I think that New York, I think the team heard the chatter, but like I said, they didn't focus on it. They heard what people had to say, and they said, okay, you know what? We done playing around, and let's turn up. They said, we are done playing around, and let's turn up. And ever since then, they worked very hard. And they almost went undefeated for the entire rest of the playoffs. They went 15-1 for the rest of the playoffs. And that just goes to show you that series helped boost their confidence. But also, all it takes is one game for you to hit your groove. All it takes for you to succeed is for you to succeed one time, and then you hit your stride. So I want you all to look at these things and take that with you back into your life. Hey, man, you might be, like I said before, you might be down a little bit at any moment in time, but that one success, that one win, the little bit of extra effort can get you that one win, and that can get the snowball rolling, where you can go 15-1 in your own life and then be successful. So that's just one of the lessons that I learned from that. Now I want to go on to another clip. This is a post from SportsCenter, and it's showing the work that Jalen Brunson has put in ever since he was a kid. Ever since he was a kid. I'm not going to play the sound because, YouTube is a little bit iffy about that. But I just want you all to see. And shout out to his parents for, filming him during this time. Shout out to them. They put in the effort, they put in the time, and they helped breed him for what he wanted to do and what he wanted to accomplish in his dreams. I want to talk about his dad right quick. His dad played in the NBA, and he and his dad had a very close relationship. Now, I'm not sure what his mom did because I don't even know who she is, but his dad asked him, hey, what do you want to do? And Jalen said, I want to play in the NBA like you did. And he said, well, if you want to make it to the NBA, you're not just going to get there off of my name alone. You're going to have to put in the work, and I'll help train you. But you're going to have to understand the level of difficulty. You're going to have to understand the effort that it's going to take. You're going to have to understand there's no room for excuses. You're going to have to understand there's no room for you to be tired, lazy, any of that. You're going to have to shake that out of your mind. He said, I'm going to be hard on you. There's going to be days where you just don't like me because I'm going to be hard on you. But you have to understand that if this is what you want, this is what I have to do to prepare you for that. And Jalen talked about it in an interview. He said, when I was young, of course, I didn't understand why my dad was so hard on me. And then somewhere around high school, college, he started to see, okay, this is why we were doing all that hard work. Excuse me. This is why we were doing all that hard work. This is why I spent all those hours, all those afternoons, all those evenings in the gym, getting up shots, going through these routines, going through different scenarios, getting in the gym so that I can get stronger, knowing the fact that, hey, I'm not the tallest guy out there, so I'm going to have to figure out ways to be crafty. I'm going to have to figure out ways to get my shot up. I'm going to have to figure out ways around the fact that I am not super tall. Now, he's a tall guy. He's 6'2", but that's not tall in NBA. That's short in the NBA, actually. But, as I said before, he understood that those were the things that he was going to have to go through in order to get to where he wanted to be. That's what you're going to have to do in your own life. It's going to take work. It's going to take effort. It's going to take grind. It's going to take a lot of time for you to be on your own, by yourself, or by yourself with your coach. You're not going to have all your friends around all the time to cheer you on with everything you do. They're going to see the results. They're not going to see all the work. And I want to say shout out to Jalen's mom. Jalen's mom was out there too. She was out there too. In the video I showed, I think there was another video. I don't know if it was this one or that. Like I said, I didn't have the sound playing, but I watched it, and you can hear her in the background. Come on, son. Pick up your feet, son. Stop walking. To be that extra voice. She didn't sound as mean as his dad, but to be that extra voice. And I'm not saying his dad was mean. What I'm saying is she was the complement to his dad. Where his dad might come off stern, she was a little bit softer, but they were both saying the same thing. Get your feet up, run, move, hit that move harder. Okay, that one was smooth. Now do it again. All of those sorts of things. It takes a village. It takes a village. It takes a team. Remember, I did a video where I said nobody is self-made, because they aren't. But on the flip side of that, you have to be willing to do what's necessary. You have to be willing to go that extra mile. And this is when you see the fruits of your labor. This is when you see the fruits of your labor. I want to go to another clip right quick. This is what happens when you have put in the effort. You get a chance to let your emotions shine through, because they all know they shed tears for this. They bled for this. They sweat for this. They put in all the effort, and now they are realizing their dream. This team here, if you were to look at them on paper or analytically, as Kenny would say, you would not think that they would be the team to bring home a championship for the New York Knicks. This is the team that ended their 53-year drought. And I mean, they done had some ballers on their team. Some bona fide ballers. I'm talking about Patrick Ewing. I'm talking about Allen Houston. I'm talking about Carmelo Anthony, Amari Stoudemire, Stephon Marbury, Steve Francis. They had Tracy McGrady at some time, but nah, we ain't gonna talk about that because that was not a good time for Tracy McGrady. But what I'm saying is they've had so many big name players in there, and this is the team to get it done after 53 years. That was all. I think that was almost as long as Cleveland's drought when we won back in 2016. Jalen Brunson is now a bona fide superstar. Karl Anthony Towns, bona fide superstar. OG Anunoby, bona fide star. Bona fide superstar. Now I want to talk about Karl Anthony Towns right quick. Karl Anthony Towns started his career with the Minnesota Timberwolves. And that was the team who he thought he was going to play for a long time. Much longer than what actually ended up happening. And he was traded to the Knicks, I want to say 2 years ago. Not last season, but the season before last. Or maybe last season was his first season with the Knicks. One of the two. And he was traded for Julius Randle from the Timberwolves. And it was kind of, big drama in the NBA because the Timberwolves went with keeping Rudy Gobert over keeping Karl Anthony Towns. Now, I thought that was a huge mistake. Why would you get rid of Karl Anthony Towns? He's your second leading scorer. For a long time, he was the leading scorer for the Timberwolves. He was the face of their franchise for a long time before they got Anthony Edwards. So I don't understand why they did that move at all. I don't think Karl Anthony Towns understood why they did that move at all. He's like, this was my home. This was the place where I was playing. This is where I wanted to see my career grow and all of those sorts of things. And then the rug got pulled from up under him. And that's going to happen to each and every one of us at some point in our lives. At some point, the rug's going to get pulled out from up under you. Right? It happens. It is a part of life. And the better part about that, or the potentially better part about that, is how do you respond? How do you pick yourself back up? How do you then move forward? And in Karl Anthony Towns' case, he's a champion now. That's how he moved forward. I know they call him Zesty. I know all of that. When he was at the Timberwolves, Jimmy Butler called him soft and blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? You made Jimmy Butler eat those words because Jimmy has been to the finals 2 times, has come back with nothing. You've been to the finals once, you came back with something. The only thing that matters is how you move forward out of that situation. And in Karl Anthony Towns' case, he is now an NBA champion. So what they got to say about him now? And he was a major contributor and a major reason why the Knicks were able to win and win so successfully the way they won. He was a major contributor to that. I want to talk about Mike Brown for a quick second. Shout out to Mike Brown. Mike Brown, I talked about him before. I said Mike Brown is not known to be a great coach because he was not. But now he's making us all eat those words. Mike Brown did what every other coach who I saw them face couldn't do. He made adjustments. when the Knicks were down 2-1 to Atlanta in the first round. Mike Brown came in. He talked to Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns said, "Hey man, let me be like the point forward, the point center, or whatever it is. Let's run the off of the fence through me. I think I can play make and help us get to where we need to go." Right? That's what he said. Excuse me, y'all. I'm getting a phone call. But that's what he said. And they linked up. They put their heads together, pause, and they made something happen. So Mike Brown said, "You know what? I'm going to go with that. Let's try it." And ended up blowing the team out by 50. He said, "Okay, well, we're going to rock like this until it stops working." Well, they swept the next team, the Philadelphia 76ers, running the ball through Cat. His scoring went down, but his assists went up, playmaking went up. Then they swept the Cavs. And then they got into the finals, and they gentlemen swept the Spurs. But making those adjustments, he made some other adjustments against the Spurs in these finals. In Game 4, when they were down 29 points, he changed it around so that Jose Alvarado and Jalen Brunson played at the same time. Two guys under 6'3", two quote-unquote undersized guards who you would not generally see playing with each other. Jose Alvarado is Jalen Brunson's backup. But Jose Alvarado, who I'm going to throw in there, I'm going to talk about him too. Jose Alvarado, he wasn't scared of nobody, especially Wemby. I saw him go up on Wemby. He threw up a floater on Wemby, and Wemby just thought he was going to block it. And instead of like floating it where the floater's kind of slow, he just threw the ball in the hoop. You know, he saw Wemby, and I saw him do the Nash dribble around Wemby a couple of times and then go up for a layup on the other side of the basket so Wemby couldn't just block it. He attacked Wemby in a way that we haven't seen many players attack Wemby. And then it shed light for Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson was like, "Okay, well, I'm going to put him in a blender." Cross Wemby up, and he starts making shots on Wemby. Wemby is 7'6". I think Wemby's more like 7'8", to be quite honest with you. I have a picture on my phone of Wemby standing next to Jared Allen, and Wemby's whole head is above Jared Allen's afro. So I'm thinking Wemby's more like 7'8". And to be so tall, you're just thinking automatic block, right? Nope. You had two short guys, 6'2", and I don't even know if Jose Alvarado is anything above 6 foot. I'm gonna say 6 foot to be nice. But both of those guys took Wemby to the hole. And in that Game 4, when they coming back from down 29, it was those two guys who were really the sparks of everything. Now, Jose Alvarado, he didn't have a whole bunch of points, but the impact that he made on the game, the effort that he put in, he was drawing fouls. He was, moving fast, playing defense. Had a couple knockdown threes when he needed to. All those efforts were what led to that comeback, and that is the type of game that you're going to have if you're going to come back. If you're going to come back and win, that's the type of game that you have to have. You have to be able to make adjustments. You have to be able to do what's necessary in order to get to where you want to be. We all want to be successful, right? Well, sometimes we're going to have to dig deep. Sometimes we can't kick it with our friends to do things. We have to do what's necessary to get the job done. Now, I am actually going to end the stream right here. I'm going to pick it up tomorrow. We're going to do a part 2 tomorrow. I have a customer coming through, so I'm going to actually have to hop off of here and help them out. Maybe if you are checking this out, make sure you go check out my website, curatedsenseLLC.com. But we're going to do a part 2 to this tomorrow and finish it on up. But as I always say, I'll catch y'all on the next one. Thanks for tuning in.